Two, Hayden Collins, David Doss, and Chuck Huffstetler are the candidates. Again, our format will have an opening statement for 1.5 minutes. Panelists will ask questions with answers for 90 seconds. And at the end of the questioning from the panelists, the candidates can ask questions, 30-second limit on asking the question, and a 60-second limit on answering the question. Also, you'll have a closing statement, each of you, for 1 minute. Let's start our questioning, or excuse me, I'm sorry, we have an opening statement, and first we'll take it from Hayden Collins.
Thank you, sir. Caterpillar's coming to Georgia, and I put together an economic plan yesterday and produced it at Young Republican Clubs in Rome, and produced a video and put it out on video. We have an opportunity in Northwest Georgia to capture some of the vendors and expand our small businesses. And part of that economic plan that I put out includes using our local resources to generate revenue streams for counties, cities, and municipalities without state funding, without raising taxes, and microphone, right? And
microphone.
There we go.
There we go.
Without raising taxes, and finding a way to make sure this is done within private industry. The layout within private industry is at no risk to the taxpayer. And when we are done with the project, the taxpayers actually benefit because they inherit the entire project for the length and the life cycle of the entire project. So energy could be done cheaper, which makes it easier for our small businesses to survive. And we can attract new businesses, hopefully some Caterpillar vendors, because they're all coming to Georgia looking to support the jobs that are going to be brought down here. And we want to capture them. We want to bring them to our community. The second part of that is Vision Bridge School. We just heard the debate that just took place before this. The Vision Bridge School enhances school system by using Huntsman, Ombudsman, Sylvan, bringing those organizations together to support the public school system. We might even be able to hire some of our public teachers back on the private side to support special education and to support Caterpillar's education that they need to hire individuals from our community. My name is Hayden Collins. Visit my website, haydencollins.org, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I think that mic went out again, if we could check that. This mic on too? Anyway, thank you, Mr. Collins. And our next opening statement is from Chuck Huffstetler.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Chuck Huffstetler. I'm a small business owner. Did I lose it? And an anesthesia provider at Redmond Hospital in Rome. I used to say anesthetist, and some people were misunderstanding and thought it was atheist, so now I say I'm an anesthesia provider. I was a county commissioner for Floyd County from 1999 through 2006 for 8 years. We had a great commission over there. We cut the millage rate 6 times. We eliminated the TANs over there that you heard about here, the first commission in history to do that. We eliminated all the debt from any previous debt buildup. We had the highest fund balance in history, and we brought $500 million in new and existing industry to Floyd County in that first term alone. We built a Rome Brave Stadium within a year, on time and under budget, completely paid for. And even the Lowe's that you heard about earlier, I was part of 7 years ago helping get an option on that land. We saw that as an opportunity for that community and help bring it in there. I want you to put me to work for you. And I want you to put me to work with Barry Loudermilk, who's endorsed me, to make this county and this district a better area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huffstetler. And now an opening statement from David Doss.
Well, thank you. My name is David Doss, and I'm running for the state senate because I share many of the same concerns that you do. I'm worried about the direction our country's going in. I'm worried about the direction that our state's going in. And let's make no mistake about it. Our state is facing some serious problems. As former chairman of the Floyd County Commission and as former chairman of the State Transportation Board, I am uniquely qualified to be your next state senator. I believe this race needs to be about you, the citizens that we serve. I believe that it's time that the legislature put the public interest ahead of those of the special interest. That the legislature begin to focus on solving issues like education, transportation, and our antiquated tax system, instead of spending the majority of time on petty partisan politics. My campaign has been one that is focused on the issues and one that offers common sense, conservative solutions to the problems that face our district. While others focus on party politics, which has little to do with our qualifications, I offer you a different perspective. I offer you a track record of conservative ideas with conservative solutions. And I offer you a campaign that has the complete support and full endorsement of the Lieutenant Governor of this state, Casey Cagle. I ask for your vote on July 31st.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. And now we'll start with our panel. First, we'll start with Jessica Loading of the Daily Tribune News.
Certainly, gentlemen, the state's economy seems to be on everybody's mind. Here locally, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing our state's economy?
Anyone in particular, or are you just randomly throwing this out?
I'm sorry.
Okay,
We'll
there
start
we go.
with you,
Thank
Henry.
you. I greatly appreciate that. I'll do that first. And I'll do it without the microphone. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. You know, the biggest thing right now is you have a base of taxpayers. And we have a large base of baby boomers retiring. There's about 10,000 of them retiring every day. And we were even talking about tax bases and should we charge senior members for school tax? Should they even support that? You're investing in the children when you're paying for school. So that's an investment. As far as the state economic program is looking right now, we have an opportunity to take advantage of some chaos that's taking place. Right now in Albany, Georgia, we're using a landfill gas generator to generate methane gas for electricity at almost 4 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's a cogeneration plant, so we generate steam free for manufacturing. They have an edge on us right now. Dalton bought solar cells 6 years ago, and I know it's solar cells and cylinders, all that kind of a problem, and so on and so forth. But you know what? In 5 years, they've paid for their solar cells, and they're getting free electricity. Dalton has a competitive advantage. They might get some Caterpillar people. Albany might get some Caterpillar people. What we can do in the state of Georgia is start taking advantage of the leading edge technology that's out there and bringing that leading edge technology to our areas of Northwest Georgia, using that leading edge technology to make it better for us. We make it better for us, we set the example for the state. The state will follow that example, and maybe the rest of the nation will follow the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Hufstad.
There's many issues facing this state and this country right now. The economy and jobs are the biggest issue, and that's why I talked about the track record that I had of bringing industry, Pirelli, Suzuki, Neaton, F&P, and existing industry expansion to Floyd County. This is going to be an issue that we have to continue on, and we have to make it a business-friendly state. Do I get a time out on the mic there? It's working again. And we have to make businesses feel welcome. In many communities, the regulations harass them, and they don't feel like they're even wanted there. And we tried to change that in Floyd County, and we tried to have cooperative governments that work together. Education is a really important issue for this community and for me personally. I have 2 children in graduate school. I have an 8th grader in the public school system in Rome there, and it's taken a beating. And we have to find the funds for it. We have to find them 2 ways. One, through growing the tax base through this bringing in the industry. We have to look at other taxes, sources, such as consumption taxes, and we have to find efficiencies in our budget. We found efficiencies in our budget at Floyd County. We cut $3 million out of the budget the first year, and we gave employees raises all 8 years and no furlough days, and that's the record I'll bring to the State Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Hufstedler, and now Mr. Doss.
One of the things that you'll hear me talk about a lot in this campaign that is, I think, the biggest impediment to growing this state's economy is the antiquated tax system. The state of Georgia has had the same tax code since 1939 without a revision. It is not a business-friendly atmosphere as a result, but the biggest problem is that antiquated tax system, a tax code, has over 80 special exemptions, special interest tax exemptions that were bought and paid for by the lobbyists who are fighting me on the ethics reform bill. I think that if we were to eliminate many of the special interest tax breaks, we have to remember, every time we give a tax break, that means somebody is getting out of the tax-paying line and the rest of us that are in line are paying their share. So I feel like a rewrite of the tax code is the single biggest thing we can do. It would allow us to expand the tax base, reduce the overall tax rate for everyone, and still generate more revenue to the state.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. We are having some microphone problems, and what we'd like to do right now is take a 3-minute break, and so everybody can have a fair amount of time without the mic going on and off. So the Georgia State Senate District number 52 race with Hayden Collins, David Doss, and Chuck Hofstetler, and we hope that we have fixed everything. Anyway, we're ready to continue with our panelists and their questions, and we'll start with Tom Chenal.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. My question is going to deal with District 52, a new district, one that is encompassing both mostly Floyd County and a portion of Bartow, Cartersville. Kind of explain to our listeners out there the importance of the district and exactly, I guess my main point of this is going to be in explaining that, how will you keep the people that represent in Bartow County, just up to speed as much as the major portion of your delegates, which will be in Floyd County?
Mr. Collins.
Oh, I get to go first again. Outstanding.
Okay.
Representation does not end at the county lines. As representation does not end at the state line, and it doesn't end inside the United States. My tour overseas, I got to play around with several villages and represented the United States in regards to negotiating with those villages. And so the representation part of that question is real easy. When you step forward, you're a patriot, you're going to do your job. Each and every one of us up here are going to do our jobs. And we're going to do it in the best way we possibly can. Information is going to flow. Internet and technology is a wonderful thing. I even posted a video last night about the economic plan. It's already out there. So it can be done within hours. Second part of that, there's a division in North Georgia. The division over the 411 connector, the division over this, that, and the other. And we don't need to look divisive while Caterpillar's coming down here. There's got to be a unified front. There's got to be a positive atmosphere and energy moving forward so we can attract these businesses and help our small businesses grow. That energy moving forward has got to be presented in such a manner that it is so positive, that we are such a great place to come to, that we can compete against other parts of the state of Georgia for these businesses. I bring energy to the table. I've worked from combat zones to conference rooms. Caterpillar's a number 42 out of a Fortune 100 company. Closest I've been with that, I've worked with number 48. Aspect Telecommunications. I've got experience dealing with those big companies, and I think we can bring them here, and I think we can set this up with an education base where they can help us help them, and we can build a positive future together.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Hofstetler.
This District 52, newly created, is not just Floyd County and part of Bartow County, it's also part of Gordon County, a little bit of Chattooga County. Barry Loudermilk was moved over. I've been on the other side of that. I was in Floyd County with Barry Loudermilk as my senator, and I can tell you he did a great job. He was over there. He supported the whole district. I plan to do the same thing, and I think if you've got a Floyd County to Bartow County and Barry into Chattooga County area, that you can get some strong leadership. And Hayden's right. You've got to have cooperation. That was one of the things that was important when we brought all the industry to Floyd County. We had to have the chamber, the city, the county all on board, all getting along, giving the same message. I think we can do that here, and I think we can bring industry to this area in the district. At the same time, we can look at protecting this district with a state budget that could look more towards consumption taxes and less towards property taxes in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Hofstetler. Mr. Doss.
Well, I would just ask you to look at my record for the last 10 years. Granted, Floyd County makes up the majority of the district, about half of Bartow County, about half of Gordon County. On the State Transportation Board, I brought in the last 9 years to Bartow County over 75 projects. Money that the board members have complete discretion over, transportation enhancement grants. I brought better than $2 million to the city of Cartersville, about $1.5 million to the city of Adairsville. In doing so, I've developed great working relationships with folks like Clarence Brown, like the mayor of Cartersville, your business leaders, your civic leaders. For the last 10 years, almost every first Sunday of every month, I come to breakfast over here and in Bartow County. I've said for years and years, what's good for Bartow County is good for Floyd. What's good for Floyd County is good for Bartow County. I want us to be mindful that just what these other two gentlemen have said, and that is working together is the best work for our district. And I have those relationships in Bartow County, and that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Next question from Mike Garcia.
Thank you. Transportation splost. Yes, no, and regardless of your answer, why?
Mr. Doss.
T-SPLOST, all right. The transportation splost, from a policy standpoint, I think it's terrible policy. It's full of flaws. I wish what had happened was that they had pulled it back and revamped it and brought it out again in 2 years from now, but that unfortunately is not the situation. Polling data from the last week, as late as last week, shows that 62% of Republicans are against the T-SPLOST in this district. The smart political answer would be say, I'm against it. I'm going to tell you personally, reluctantly, I'm going to vote for it, and here's why. The 411 connector, with the T-SPLOST, the chances that it pass of that road being completed as currently designed and the cost with the T-SPLOST is slim. Without it, it's none. Right now, to me, slim is better than none. The other thing is that the T-SPLOST, if it fails, what most people don't understand is the counties are hit with a 30% penalty. So when you weigh it all out, and that's my personal vote, I'm not out pushing for or against. You ask how I'm going to vote personally. Personally, I'm going to reluctantly support it because I think slim is better than none on 411, and I don't want to see the counties hit with a 30% surcharge.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Mr. Huffstetler.
The T-SPLOST, while I support consumption type taxes, I think is flawed, and I don't think it will hold up constitutionally. The stick that was talked about here of if you're not in it, then you have to have a 30% match. If you're in it, you have to have a 10% match. I don't think agrees with the Georgia Constitution that says the money will be equally distributed among the congressional districts. So while I love sales tax, and I think it's the most fair tax to do, I don't think this one will hold up. I do think we can get the 411 connector without it. I think the funds can be found. We've done it at the county level. We found funds to do projects. We found money to do road projects without any state or federal money, and the money is there. What we've got right now at the state DOT is there's been so much money borrowed that right now, $900 and something million in motor fuels, you're paying $200 million of it for debt payments. That would, 1 year alone, debt payments would more than pay the cost of this 411 connector. We've got to get the state budget under control. We've got to get projects meeting budget, eliminate cost overruns, and we'll find the funds there just like we did at the county.
Thank you. Mr. Collins.
I'm a Tea Party member. Taxes are not my game. There are so many of us out there right now that are looking at taxes that we're burdened with, even with the new Obamacare laws that are coming down to smack us around with even some more taxes next year. I think the number is about 11% increase. How many more taxes do we need to burden on this generation with each child right now? What, $42,000 in debt when they're born? Our needs as a society, our needs as a position to get things done are addressed through spending, and when they can't cover it, they borrow and tax us. And strictly as a Tea Party member, I am not even for T-SPLOST. I wouldn't even consider it. It's somewhat of an abomination if you ask me, because they presented it as my way or the highway, and there's no second choice. We have sent an elected body down there, and they gave us a my way or the highway scenario. Gave us no second choice. If we don't go for it, we get penalized. If we do go for it, we get taxed. It's almost as if something came out of the late 1940s. It's kind of proposal I'd put in place to replace it. You know, the revenue streams that we generate by not spending money on power, by the revenue streams that counties generate by selling their own methane gas from their landfills, that money going into there, we wouldn't have to raise those taxes. We wouldn't have to pay that kind of stuff. We'd actually use those revenues that are generated for each county to support the education and support road building, and we wouldn't have to be dependent upon the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Our next question is from Jessica Lodi.
The economy and education are at the top of everyone's priorities list. Outside of those two issues, what do you see as being the most important issues facing the legislature?
Mr. Huffstetler.
Thank you. To answer that, the budget, I think, is a very important issue. I think that there's a lot in that budget. You've heard tax reform talked about. We've got to get some line item detail and provide the funds for a lot of areas, because if we don't do this, those areas, education will continue to suffer. We can bring it up through the economy, we can bring it up through efficiencies, and the other issue that's going to be really important is healthcare costs. And I understand this particularly as a healthcare provider. We've got a $300 million shortfall right now. We've got to adjust our policies so that we are not just treating symptoms. I do that in the operating room every day. We've got to get more into preventative care and push that, or else our healthcare costs will continue to take a bigger part of our budget.
Thank you, Mr. Huffstetler. Just a reminder to our listeners, you are listening to WBHF Radio, AM 1450, Cartersville, Georgia. Mr. Doss.
Could you give that question again? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Aside from the economy and education, what do you consider to be the most important issue facing the legislature?
You know, I think the most important thing that we can do as legislators right now is to restore the public trust. Opinion polls show that the respect for the legislature, respect for Congress are at all-time lows. And that's because of the revolving door that lobbyists have in our state government. First day of this campaign, I made a pledge to the citizens of this state and of this district that on day one I would introduce an ethics reform bill, and whether it passes or not, I'll live by that until it becomes law for everyone. So I think the most important thing after education and getting the budget in order is to restore public confidence. This state deserves better. You, the citizens, deserve better. You need representatives that go down there that will fight for you and not be, and stop this continuous revolving door between lobbyists and legislators.
Mr. Collins.
Emergency preparedness. Too many times, even in the past recent years, we get hit with tornadoes here and there and everywhere. We even got smacked around pretty good last year as well. I was out on mission with that with my troops. We were out cutting down trees, bringing things back in order. The state developed a position where they had emergency response teams, which they call GSAR, which is G Search and Rescue. They developed a few trucks that were coordinated with police departments and fire departments, but couldn't respond because they didn't have the funding to do so. We as citizens can step forward and set the example. I asked each one of the commissioners when they came on my show about Citizens Emergency Response Team. And I asked them about LEPC, which is Local Emergency Planning Committees, where all of the communities get together with volunteers, businesses, and municipalities and plan for emergencies to where they won't be drawing on the state if an emergency hits. They can take care of themselves. That kind of a scenario where the community can stand up for itself, train itself, and move forward. We move ahead as a group. We move ahead setting the example everywhere else in the state, and we can attract businesses that way. We can attract businesses showing them that we're coordinated, using those LEPCs with businesses, with individuals, with community volunteers every time something happens. And each time we recover, we look stronger.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Next question from Tom Chenault.
Well, you've talked about some of the important issues facing the legislature. Let's just go ahead and ask it in this respect. If you're elected, what legislation are you considering for the upcoming session?
Mr. Collins, you may start.
Outstanding, thank you for that. I'm pushing Vision Bridge School. And the Vision Bridge School bill is something I want to do because one of my kids, I had a lot of kids. We adopted a lot of kids, but one of my kids went to Woodland High School. His starting class was huge. It was like 400 students. But his graduating class was 197. So that's like a 50% dropout rate. Absolutely enormous. Now, he's off in the military, he's done his tour in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he's back home now, but one of the things I want to push is Vision Bridge School. And Vision Bridge School doesn't take away from the public schools, doesn't lay off any public teachers. What we do is we take the children that have IEPs and SSTs, and if anybody out there has a special needs kid, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You take those kids and you give them additional tutoring and training by using private industry, like Sylvan, Huntington, Ombudsman. And when they come in, we still get paid for the attendance for the child at the school. But as private contractors, as long as they agree to accept a daily rate, they do not have limits on their classroom size. Actually, for the online courses, there's no limit for classroom size on online courses. And as we move forward in the electronic and technology age, you're going to find that even those guys are getting graduate degrees online. We can actually do some of that with the special needs kids and involve their parents in the education. When we push that bill through, God help me, I hope it goes through, because I know it'll benefit, because it's working in Colorado right now, it's working in Texas right now, and the pilot program in Indiana is taking off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Huffstetler.
I would like to continue to push for tax reform, bringing more consumption tax, less tax on property, and this will go hand in hand with our cities and counties who deal with it. And I think that is one of the most important things we can do for our communities. One thing I have pledged to our city and county commissioners and school board members having to be there is I will fight for local control. I was there for 8 years. I know what it's like to have those mandates brought to you, and we need to let our local governments get back more control, less state directed, less federal directed, and we've got to provide them opportunities for funding sources that they currently don't have.
Thank you, Mr. Doss.
Legislation I would introduce, first day, ethics reform, absolutely the first agenda. Second thing would be tax reform in the antiquated tax code. I want to tackle the issues of solving our water future, finding an adequate way to fund transportation in the future. If you've observed the legislature much in the last decade or so, legislature meets for 40 days. And it often seems like about the first 38 days are filled with foolishness. And about the last 2 days, or really the last 2 hours, is this push to get all the legislation they can of substance crammed through at the 11th hour. Well, I think we've got it backwards. I think we need to spend the first 38 or so days solving the real issues of this state: transportation, education, water, ethics reform, tax reform. And then when we get those solved, if we've got a couple of days that we want to talk about eating your own roadkill or putting microchips in your brain or all this other crazy legislation, then we'll set aside a day for that foolishness. I think we need to get about solving the business of this state.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Next question from Mike Garcia.
Thank you. You guys are asking for the voters of District 52 to vote for you, obviously. And I'm sure you've heard many, I don't know about many, but I'm sure you've heard gripes along the way from the voting public. What are you hearing from the voting public? What's the one issue you hear from them, and what do you do? What do you intend to do about it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Huffstetler.
Okay, start again, okay. The issue that is most important for the voters right now is the economy. People are hurting. The economy is affecting all of us. The solution is not to take more tax money from the hurting people, but the solution is to grow the economy and to get the government efficient. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have a record of doing that, of getting the government efficient, cutting the millage rate, bringing taxes down, and bringing in industry. That's what the voters want right now. Yeah, there's a lot of issues out there. There's a lot of pettiness out there, but the economy is our most important issue in everyone's mind.
Mr. Collins.
Restate your question again, please.
Okay. Let's try to shorten it. Voters in the district, I'm sure you've heard from them, and I'm sure they have gripes. What is the top gripe you hear, and what are you going to do about it?
Okay, I was making sure you said that, because I'm taking this a completely different direction.
Okay.
The biggest gripe that I hear from guys that are supporting me and that are out there is, how come I'm not endorsed by an establishment? why isn't the establishment getting behind you? And I said, well, the establishment really doesn't want a Tea Party member down there that's going to be a rebel. They really don't want somebody that's going to go down there and shake things up a little bit. They don't want that kind of position. So I'm not endorsed by a lieutenant governor. I'm not endorsed by a senator. I'm Hayden Collins, Tea Party member, going forward with my own ideas, presenting a future and a plan. That's the biggest gripe I hear when I'm going door to door.
Thank you. Mr. Doss.
I think the biggest gripes I hear walking around the district is what's happening to our public education system. I continue to hear that people are dismayed that over the last 10 years that the state has cut funding to education by over $4 billion, that's with a B, that we continue to furlough teachers, we continue to shorten the school year, and we continue to undermine public education in this state. I also hear that they're frustrated about transportation, that we can't seem to find a funding solution. You know, we are 49th in the United States on per capita spending on transportation. Only one other state spends less per capita than the state of Georgia. We continue to kick the can down the road on important issues without ever sitting down and solving them, much like the tax code. The legislature this year thumped their chest and said, oh, we tackled tax code, tax reform. Well, they nibbled around the edges. There was no top-to-bottom rewrite of the tax code. They nibbled around the edges. They did something with the car tag, and I'm not sure that's not a backdoor tax increase. When all that shakes out, I'm going to be surprised if we didn't get the short end of that deal. But those are the gripes I hear. Those are the kinds of things that I hear.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. We're going to have one more question from our panelists. Before that, I have a question. Since this is a new district, what are the voting precincts in Bartow County that will be voting in your race? Can any of you tell me? What?
Name the precinct.
Anybody can answer.
West Side and Mission Road Precinct all the way through Harley, and then up to lines through Adairsville, right towards Adairsville. Okay. And then it cuts over. The map is really not clear on the state website. I wish it was better, but you know, you have to do what you have to do with what you can. You type in your address specifically into the website, and it'll tell you if you're in the district or not. But essentially, you're going West Side District in Cartersville, Mission Road District, and it just edges out west until you hit the line before it goes into Floyd County.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
No, just as he said, Emerson, Harley, to the edge of Adairsville, but not in the city limits itself.
Okay. Thank you. Jessica Loading, our last question from our panelists.
Hayden, I believe you are the only candidate, excuse me, who lives in Bartow County. The question has come up about how you would manage or balance legislation that could affect your home county or vice versa. For example, the Lowe's distribution center that considered both Floyd and Bartow County. Would your home influence affect you in your vote?
My home influence affects me even now. If you've seen HaydenCollins.org, you'll know that Sandra and I ran a foster home for 15 years. We adopted a slew of children, and I have a vested interest in this community because I want them to have good jobs here. And I want to see my grandchildren. I don't want them moving away where I have to go fly and see my grandchildren. So yes, not only do I have a vested interest from Bartow County, it's all of Northwest Georgia. I can do in Northwest Georgia what I did in Kadena, Japan, and Okinawa, South Korea, Siberia, all in Germany, and back in the United States for the United States Marine Corps base. I'm an efficiency manager. I do more with less. And what I want to do is set this up for my children. I don't want them to be taxed to death. I don't want them to be burdened with all kinds of things we're going to stick them with. I would rather they have a fair shot and a really good opportunity at their own success. They can buy their own homes, provide for their own future and their own children. My vested interest here is greed. I want my children to be successful in North Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Although the question was directed at you, Mr. Huffstedler, you want to answer the question?
Well, I think he's right. This is a economic corridor up through here. It starts with Bartow County and continues up that way. The growth is going to come this way. We've got to be managing it. We've got to bring in the industries that will make our communities better and will bring in tax dollars. And this whole corridor is important. It doesn't stop at a county line. Our hospitals in Rome have people working in them from Alabama. They have many people from Cartersville working in them over here. And we are all in it together.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
And I would echo pretty much the same sentiments. I think you could take the map of the district and erase the county lines and have the 52nd district, and that would be how I view this. I think county lines are relatively insignificant when we represent the entire district. And as I said, what's good for one county is good for the other, and that would be my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Now we have a 30-second time limit on asking questions of each other, and we'll start with you, Mr. Dawson. Do you have a question for either one of the candidates or both?
I do. I'd ask this of Mr. Huffstatler. Chuck, you have said that you, if you were elected, that you wanted to fight the liberal trial lawyers. As you know, the Georgia Constitution says that right by trial shall be held inviolate, will not to be touched. You also say on your website that you will judge every piece of legislation by the Georgia Constitution. Well, if you're willing to do away with the trial by jury and violate the state constitution, are there any other parts of the Georgia Constitution that you would ignore?
Mr. Huffstatler, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Okay, well, I'm aware of our Constitution, and I'm aware of tort reform, which supporters of Mr. Doss in the past have fought. I do believe there need to be caps on awards. I don't think that you should just have outrageous settlements. This is not anything to do with a fair trial, but it has to do with unreasonable rules. And, you know, along this line, a trial lawyer that he supported a year and a half ago was Roy Barnes, who has fought the voter ID law and lost in court and was against these any sort of cap on any unreasonable settlements. And I do think that we have to have checks and balances, and that's what tort reform does, and I will continue to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Do you have a question for either one of the candidates?
Can I fire one at both?
Sure.
Fellas, and we've had fun with this, believe me. When do you think it's appropriate for the senior generation to pass the baton of leadership to the next generation?
Who do you want to answer first?
David, you want that one?
Mr. Doss?
When is it appropriate for the senior to pass it to the...
When is it appropriate for the senior generation to pass the leadership baton to the next generation?
I think when the senior generation has become ineffective or stale and not doing their job. I guess that would be the answer.
I'll accept that.
Well, to me, the best and greatest president we ever had was Ronald Reagan. I don't think I'm quite his age yet, so I don't think you're ready to put me out to pasture quite yet.
Thank you.
Very acceptable. Thank you.
Mr. Huffstatler, do you have a question?
Yeah, this one would be for Mr. Doss. I know he's talked about ethics reform, and I do think it's important. I met that cap all 8 years on the county commission. If you go on the ethics website, he didn't meet it last year and many other years. There were talks of $5,000, $10,000 wine and dine the DOT, brought in the governor, and the Attorney General, who even stopped one of the events because he said it was buying access. He said such things advance policy. So my question would be, if that is so important now, why was it not important for the last 10 years?
Mr. Doss?
Ethics reform has always been first and foremost. I don't know where Chuck's come up with this information. There has never been an ethics complaint filed against me, ever. Not during my tenure on the county commission, not during my tenure on the State Transportation Board, and certainly not during this campaign. Chuck, I don't know where you come with this information. Again, you seem to want to talk about divisive politics. You know, I want to talk about what we can do to help these folks out here. You talk about liberal trial lawyers. You talk about ethics complaints that don't exist. What's wrong with us sitting down and talking about what's important to these folks out here and how we can be the best state senator for them, instead of trying to make up trash about ethics complaints that simply aren't there? There has never been an ethics complaint filed against me in any shape, form, or fashion.
Do we get a response?
Certainly.
Okay. The issues of these thousands of dollars were brought about by the governor, a Republican, by the Attorney General, a Democrat, and by the Atlanta paper, who said that ethics needed reform. The Atlanta paper said it's not just David Doss, it's most of the DOT board. So the question, which I don't think was answered, was we didn't meet a $100 cap in any of those years, and all those entities said that it was wrong, it was buying access. And so why is that 100 cap important this year but not for the other years?
Mr. Doss, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and Mr. Collins, if you have any questions.
Look, these guys are going to beat it up. I'll sit back and watch.
I just want to give you the opportunity if you want to jump in there. Mr. Doss, 30 seconds.
Again, Chuck doesn't understand the facts. First of all, there's never been a $100 cap applied to the DOT. I don't know, so there's not one to violate. I don't know what he's talking about, meals or trips or whatever. What he's talking about, and it's going to take longer than 15 seconds, so if you want to hear the answer, I'll be glad to answer, but I can't do it in 15 seconds.
Well, I'm sorry, but our time is running out. I'll give you 30 seconds more. Go ahead.
Well, there was a GBI investigation relative to a letter that when I was the chairman of the Public-Private Partnership Committee that went out to folks that were invited to a conference. Georgians for Better Transportation hosted it. They asked me to write a welcome letter. That's all I did, was write, welcome to Georgia, hope to see you in September. The GBI did an investigation at the request of Sonny Perdue. I was found to be completely at fault, faultless, no blame whatsoever. And about 18 months later, Sonny Perdue called me into his office and apologized.
Thank you very much. Now, we're going to have closing statements from each of our candidates, and we'll start with Mr. Hufstetler, please. You have 1 minute.
Thanks for having me here. I am a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican. I will bring the track record that I talked about of bringing industry, cutting taxes, and growing this economy. And I have also signed the $100 cap, and as I said, I met it every year on the county commission. It wasn't law necessarily, but it was met every time. I also have brought about the lowest tax rate since he left office, and had raised it several times. After 6 cuts, it was the lowest it was. The fund balance was the highest, and all debt was eliminated. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'll bring that record there. I've heard when he got the last closing statement a couple of times that he said he had the lowest tax rate. I challenge you to look at the record and see those facts.
Thank you, Mr. Hufstetler. Mr. Collins.
Sir, I want to ask you to re-yield me my 30 seconds from prior to this so I can go a full 2 minutes. The $100 pledge that they're speaking of is rather unique. And that $100 pledge is kind of unique in such a way that you have Fortune 100 companies taking people to Europe and having great old times on research and taking their family along and bringing them back, which kind of gives us a black eye all across the place because everybody starts looking skeptical to leadership. That $100 pledge does something else. The Foster Parent Association of Georgia is a very small organization, and lobbyists, if they can register if they have the money from time to time, that would make them equal to any Fortune 100 company when it comes to influence of the legislature. I think it's a wonderful thing. Closing statements, thank you.
Yes, 1 minute, please.
You know, it's a wonderful thing to sit up here. It's a wonderful thing to put yourself forward as a patriot and run. I want you to know right now that I am a supporter of all of our veterans that come back from overseas. And each one of these veterans that we have coming back, they need jobs. I'm a supporter of the Hire a Veteran program. And I'll let you know right now, I'm such a supporter for that program, I'm the only veteran on this board to support the Hire a Veteran program. Now, yeah, you know it. Visit my website at haydencollins.org. And you'll find YouTube links. You'll find all the stories about everything that's going on from my overseas trips and the experience that I bring to you from the combat zones that I've worked in and the conference tables for Fortune 100 companies, all the way down to small businesses. Even in New Harley, I put together a backwards trading event that took place backing up Johnny Mitchell Smokehouse, the Covered Bridge Country Store, and Nature's Window to do backwards marketing to help them out getting that river off the ground last year. I even provided free tours for everybody going down the river and took my time out of the radio show to get there and do it. I have a vested interest in the community, and I have a vested interest in you. Please consider me on 31st of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Dawes.
I think there's some clear advantages and distinctions between all of us. We all want to serve our community. We all have a passion for public service. I'm the kind of candidate that Casey Cagle says will go down and fight for this district. Somebody that will stand up for the folks sitting in these seats tonight. I'm not the guy that comes up here and makes all kind of wild distortions and try to sling mud. I'm not the guy that's up here taking credit for every industry that came to the state of Georgia while I was chairman of the DOT board. Why don't I take credit for the Kia plant? And I'm not the guy that stands up here and says that I'm the greatest tax cut. Here it is, Chuck, straight from the Floyd County Department of Budget Office. The lowest tax rate in the last 30 years was the 4 years I was the county commissioner. 9 points, the millage rate was 9.7 mils under Chuck, 12.8% higher, 10.94 the average for his 8 years. The government grew at 4.5% rate when I was the county commission chairman. It grew at 5%. So, Chuck, get your facts right, and let's talk about the issues that the citizens of this state deserve to hear about.
Thank you, Mr. Doss, and thank all of our candidates for the Georgia Senate District 52. Again, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, could you tell us that website again so people can find out where the voting takes place?
Oh, guys, you know, it's the state website for voting. If you Google search Senate District 52, and you take that search and you say addresses, it shows up. I even put a link on my website. So if you go to district under my website, you hit that link, you can go right to there as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the candidates. We appreciate it. And in a few moments, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Cool.
And then we'll be back with our last debate for Bartow County Sheriff.